Today, we're going to take another look at William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Now, last time we looked at Act 1, Scene 2, and specifically at Claudius's speeches in that. Today, we're going to look at one of the younger cast members. We're going to look at Hamlet himself. And we're going to look at Act 3, Scene 1. This is probably the one speech from Hamlet everyone knows. Even people who don't like Shakespeare usually notice if you get something wrong in this one. They've heard it just too many times. Now, this is of course the to be or not to be speech. And now the question here, and this is a question that Edwin Booth answered differently than most people do, is just what exactly is Hamlet talking about? Most people say he's talking about suicide. He's saying to be or not to be. Am I to be? Am I not to be? Should I live? Should I kill myself? Booth differed on that. He didn't feel that he was talking about killing himself. Booth, to begin with, noted that he had an audience, Ophelia, and he knew he had an audience, Ophelia. She didn't sneak out on him. She was already in the room walking around reading a book. He knew she was there. But the speech is directed at her as much as anyone else. But in Booth's opinion, what was being debated was not Hamlet's life, but the outcome of Hamlet's plan or mission, whatever you want to call it, to kill his uncle. Would that be or not be? Would he kill his uncle? Would he not kill his uncle? And it's a good question. It's a very good question. Because, well, there are a lot of ifs involved here. If he kills his uncle, what happens to him? Well, the logical thing that would happen to him is he becomes king. The Danes were not, they were not that concerned with how someone gained the throne, as long as he gained it. If he killed his predecessor, fine. As long as he seems like he'll make a good king, all right, fine, we'll make him king. We have the question of why Hamlet wasn't king. The best answer maybe he just wasn't around. He was off in Germany, in Wittenberg at school, and Claudius was there, and the council said, well, we'll take the one that's here. He's technically second in line, not first. But he's here, and the other guy isn't. And in the first original play, that was added to by the fact that in the original play, Hamlet was only 14 or 15 years old. So his uncle would have become regent in any case. But now the question Hamlet has to ask himself, and we're going with Booth's interpretation here, I think, is, was the ghost real? Was the ghost telling him the truth? Did Hamlet's uncle actually murder his father? Or did, maybe he actually was bitten by a serpent and he just doesn't like his brother. He's come back to get revenge on him for something. Maybe he realizes his brother's been screwing his wife for the last 20 years. That would upset anyone, I would think. There's always that old one of, well, maybe Claudius is really Hamlet's father and the ghost is getting his revenge on Claudius. In any case, Hamlet comes out on stage. He's speaking theoretically to himself, but he knows Ophelia's there and she can hear him. And he starts out to be or not to be? That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And again, there's more than one way to say that line. Whether it is nobler in the mind, or whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer. Is it nobler in the mind, or is it nobler to suffer in the mind? Think about that one for a bit. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, no more. And by sleep, to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. And this is a spot where very often it doesn't come out quite the way it should. Because you get someone who'll say, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. Well, it's all one sentence. It's all one phrase. It's not what dreams may come. It's the what should not be interpreted as what, as in a question. It's not a question. It's a statement. What could actually just as easily be thee or those. So instead of saying what dreams may come, we could say those dreams that come. Now Shakespeare didn't, but that's what he meant. Those dreams that come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. The dreams have to give us pause. And it's all one phrase. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of too long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death? The undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and moment, with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. And then he notices Ophelia, or at least he pretends to notice Ophelia. Ah, I didn't know you were here. The fair Ophelia, nymph in thy orisons, be all my sins remembered. An orison is a prayer, by the way. A lot of people don't seem to know that for some reason. They should. I mean, it's actually still used occasionally. Now, what is he really looking at? Is he contemplating suicide? Is he contemplating murdering his uncle? He doesn't know for sure that the ghost is telling the truth. So he doesn't know for sure if he's going to kill his uncle. He thinks he is. He's fairly sure it's true. But he's not positive. As he says earlier, the spirit I have seen may be the devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholies, he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. In Shakespeare's time, people really worried about things like that. They really thought that devils, actual little fork-tailed, pitchfork-carrying demons were running around, getting ready to jump on them at the least provocation. They slipped at all. Oh, they could be dragged down into hell and burn in fire forever. Well, most of us don't actually think that way anymore, but people did then. So, the threat that this might be a devil and not his father is certainly problematic for Hamlet. It's only after the play, his uncle reacts, that Hamlet is sure he actually killed his father. At this point he's not. At this point he's just going to argue with Ophelia and continue to pretend to be mad for no discernible reason. There is no discernible reason why Hamlet is mad in Hamlet, or why he acts like he's mad. If anything, his proper reaction should be to basically suck up to his uncle, not act like a lunatic. That just makes him look suspicious. But keep in mind, this was adapted from an earlier version where Hamlet was much younger and needed to spend 4 or 5 years not getting himself killed until he was old enough to kill his uncle. That's not a problem in Shakespeare's version. In Shakespeare's version, the man's 30 years old, maybe 29 when it starts. So why he's crazy, who knows?